The way that this business grows, I always want to help you with everything besides even your ads. We've built businesses and there's things that people are told and they're not told that I think set them up for success or frustration. And one thing that I find, after helping so many people with their businesses is that I feel like a lot of people don't have the correct expectation given to them when they come into their industry, their business, whether it's, Meluka, LifeWave, Young Living, Legal Shield, like it doesn't matter. It's across the board. And I think it's for any business, even outside of this industry, but it's really, I think, an important thing to know in this business. And if you've ever been, some of you probably maybe been realtors or insurance agents or any, even that type of business is the same type of thing. And when you start your business, I'm going to draw like a graph. This is really, really, this is time and this is money here. Okay. Now, like what happens when you start, you typically will have some success talking to some friends and family, maybe people on your social profile, stuff like that. And you might have some initial success, right? You might earn a couple $100, you might earn $1,000, but it usually will die at this point. Unless it might even go down after over time because there's two different lists in your business. You've got your warm market list when you come in, and then you need to build what we call an add to and constantly grow every day your money list. Your money list is the list that you're going to be building with your ads. You should also be adding to it if you're a good person asking for referrals or you're doing vendor events. Your money list is your list of contacts that will turn into customers and brand partners now and over time. Okay. So when you start to add to that list, it will take 60 to 90 days, no matter how you're building your business. It doesn't matter whether you're building it in person or posting your life away on social media or you're running ads on social media. It doesn't matter. It could be doing radio. It doesn't matter. You will hit a time of 30 days if you're spending a lot of money. Typically, it's 60 to 90 days. And as that money list gets more people added to it, you start to grow like this. Now, if you're leading with the business, your business will grow much faster, like that. If you're leading with the product, it will grow like this. Okay. That's just how it is. So it's why I always encourage people to grow with definitely have a business campaign and then also sprinkle in a product campaign. And then you could turn some on, turn them off, flip back and forth because you do need the biz builders, hands down. But you can also lead with your product and prospect people for the business on the close, right? You can do that when you enroll them. Also, with the business campaigns, if somebody says, no, I think I want to think about it, cool, get them in the product. What's the best way to think about it is to get product, right? So let's get you some product and get that sent to you. But here's the thing. This time that's right here, this is the number one place that people quit is when they go through their warm market. They've talked to friends and family, they've posted on social media, and they think this doesn't work. But the problem is that network marketing industry, direct sales, social sales, like whatever you want to call it, so many uplines, companies, gurus are not positioning this like we're growing any other business, like a franchise or brick and mortar or an agency of some kind. You need an infusion of cash paid advertising, no matter how you choose to do it, to grow your business, or it will never grow. When I was at this point in my business in 2000 and it was 2001 is when I joined, but this was more like 2002 when I was here. Actually, I was like right here. In 2002, mind you, I took out a $30,000 loan against my house to fund the growth of my network marketing business, to buy inventory, trade shows, vendor events, whatever it was. That's how I built because there was no internet at that time. And there was, but it wasn't like today, where you could go on and, have direct access to advertising platforms. I put in $30,000 when I was like 28 years old. I took a loan out against my house to start my business. And anybody that I've known that have, I'm not saying run out and take out a $30,000 loan. What I'm saying is you need to have a plan and, to be able to run your ads like any business. Sometimes when we work with people, we get resistance and like people get mad when we're telling them how much they should be putting it on their ads, like they should be able to build their business for free. And I'm like, this is a business. Even at $10 a day doing your ads, 300 bucks a month is nothing to build a business in advertising. In the real world, outside of this bubble that we have, when we tell people you need an email provider, you need a text provider, you need presentation sites, these are things that are for your business. But sometimes people are like, they get angry, and I'm like, well, you should have those anyways. You should have them before you even come to us. You should have a CRM. You should have a way to communicate to everybody, keep them organized, present to them and everything. But this is why I think there's an issue in network marketing because this real business world stuff is not brought into this business as a real world business, and it causes 99% of the people to fail because they're treating it like a hobby and it becomes a very expensive hobby versus I'm running this like a real business. And this is why I like to share this with you because this is the real world. This is how it works. And when you know this, you can say, cool, all right, I'm going to get my ads up with the budget that I can do the budget that you can do steady Freddy. You can also do runs where that's a little more advanced strategy. I've got that in different materials, but where you go in at a higher budget for a short period of time and then you work the leads. And, we've got somebody right now that's doing that, that we're working in with, long term. She's been a client for a long time and she is in travel and she had to turn her ads off because she had so many leads backed up. She's like, I need to pause them for like a couple weeks because I got to follow up with all these people that need to be presented to and get them enrolled and da 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 da. And I just started laughing. I'm like, that's a great thing to have. But she came into this. She's a nurse. She's a traveling nurse. And she also like trains people and does all this cool stuff. She didn't have the time or the desire to be able to go out there and start prospecting as she's going through her life. She's like, I just want these leads to come into me and I want to be able to talk to them. And I said, cool. And that's why she first started doing the ads. But, we can do what's called a run. And her ads were working like that, where she got so many leads in and then she's turning them off. And then, so she's turning them on and off according to the flow because her flow is like a faucet that's fully opened, So this is how we grow, right? But like I said, most people, the first place that people quit is here. The second place that people quit is typically like right in here. Number two, right about here. And all along the way, there's also dips and valleys according to the season. The summer season is like the lowest season. It's just everybody's flaked out. They're going to the beach, they're going to Yellowstone, kids are home, grandkids are home, blah blah blah. A lot of grandparents have the kids because the parents are working. So like there's all these reasons why people put their business on hold in the summer. And then we are gearing up right now in the summertime. We are in the summer as I record this, but over time, in the summertime it's slower, but what's really happening is there's all this stuff going on under the surface. Like the prospecting that's done, in my opinion, in the summer from May through the end of July is the most critical uh, prospecting that's done. Let's do January to December. Okay, this is the timeline from January to December. When it comes to volume, we'll see January a little higher. Let's do February. This is very easy to read, right? February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Wow, that was actually like I didn't know if it was going to fit. Okay, so January is usually a really pretty good month. And then February we start to see things wane. We often see a bump in March. April is like here, and then we go down to May, June, July, August, September, October, November. This is kind of the trends. And then in January you start back, like hopefully higher than the previous January, but it's just kind of knowledge. When I broke into the six figure, rank earnings, I did it in May because I had created so much momentum that I was growing even in the most difficult times of the year. If you're growing in May, June, and July, you're going to be like kicking ass in the fall season because this is where kids go back to school, people get their brain back from summer, and then whatever you've been doing for the last 90 days, remember I told you it takes 90 days to get to momentum. Whatever you've been doing your last 90 days comes to fruit in 90 days. So we will see this upward trend in the fall. And then if you're growing and seeing numbers bigger in May, June, July, you're going to kick butt in the fall. Like it's just a fact. But a lot of people, they go off with the fairies and they're like, oh, well, I got 4,500 reasons why I can't build my business over the summer. And there's just an excuse factory. And so then when they come into the fall, like they haven't done anything from May through July. So they come in the fall and they're barely going to even hit any momentum here. So like even though the summer season seems to be the slowest, it's actually the most important time of year to build the business. Now, if you're, watching this recording and you are in these other times of year, just know that even here, remember the 90 days before the season is when you need to plan the growth. If you're doing really great in prospecting in dialing up your ads here, January, February, March, this is going to be higher than the previous year. You're going to have growth in the summer. It may not be exponential, maybe it will be. But what happens the previous 3 to 6 months is what happens and we see today. Where your business is today is a direct reflection as to what happened 90 days ago, 6 months ago, even up to a year ago. So we can't, people often look at today and they say, well, nothing's happening and my business isn't growing or all these people are blah, blah, blah. My team is dead. They're lazy, whatever it is, right? Like we got these things that would go in our brain. But the truth is, today is not today. Today is 6 months ago, a year ago. And think about how long, like, or when you made decisions to do things and when it really shows up in your life, when you want to make a change. And that's the same with this. So we can't look at today as a reflection as to what's even happening a week ago in your momentum, even a month ago. It takes 90 days minimum. when Monty and I lived in Fargo, and Monty, you can pipe in on this, we sowed the seeds going to 2 to 3 networking groups a week. We had vendor events every week we were doing something 5 days or more a week where we were meeting new people, prospecting, finding new people, adding to the money list. Because the money list gives you enrollments now and the enrollments later. So I know we got to build this massive list of contacts. So it took us like 2 years of building in Fargo. And mind you, I had already had a business of 60,000 to $85,000 of volume, depending on the season. I went there and I got zero growth despite sowing the seeds and throwing things, out there and showing up and networking and coffee meetings and we did everything. And the growth for us, it was a different market. It was very interesting, I will tell you that, because it was a true test of my knowledge because it usually takes, like I said, 90 days to 6 months to really get in momentum. But we were sowing the seeds every day, 5 days a week, and then I was doing online as well. This is when I was learning how to crack the code on the internet stuff. So I was blogging 2 times a week, posting 5 times a day. Like I was like, it was crazy for 2.5 years or 2 years, something like that. I went to Fargo in July of 2010, and we hit momentum in 2012, 13-ish, somewhere in there. It was like May, it was either May of 12 or May of 13. I don't remember what it was. I think it was May of 13. I don't remember. But it was like this for over 2 years, nothing. And then all of a sudden, broop, the volume went like that. Like within this was a matter of a few months. It was like 3 to 4 months. Like the volume just exploded. But this was 2 years. And I knew what I was doing, but I knew when most people would have quit. I'm like, I just know we're going to fill that pipeline full enough where eventually it's going to hit momentum. And that's how you know like your pipeline is full. Pretend this is your pipeline, which is your money list. Your money list is your pipeline. And you're adding little people. I wish I had little people graphics here. You're adding little people in there all the time into your CRM, right? And you're putting them onto your list. So I wish I could like do a better job at this. Remember back when when Jeopardy first had the little screenwriter back, like it was in the 90s, and we're like, God, why do they write so bad? Like, how can they not spell their name? And then you start to do this, and you're like, oh yeah, I totally get this. So you're adding all these people, and like you're filling your pipeline. I'm trying to get this, trying to do something clever here. This is my ghetto version way of doing this, you guys. So you keep filling your pipeline with people, and over time, your pipeline is going to get full. And what's going to happen when your pipeline is full of people, aka your money list, you are going to experience the exponential growth. But when the pipeline is not full, you're going to experience like slow growth. It's just kind of how it goes. So you got to keep adding and adding and adding. But even once you hit momentum, you still need to add to the money list because the momentum will fade and slow down and even go backwards if you're not constantly adding to your list. So that's why we call it the now money and the later money because you've got to just constantly add new people. And the best way to do it is through advertising because you're not manually going out there doing chamber of commerce meetings, BNI, vendor events, talking to the person in Starbucks next to you, calling your friends, asking for referrals. Do you know anybody who would be interested in an opportunity right now? Like, that kind of thing. So we ads, well, no matter how you do your advertising, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, websites, banner ads, it doesn't matter. LinkedIn, you can, you'll be adding to this list. And this is what most people don't do, which causes them to quit. Like it totally causes them to quit because they don't understand what I've just shown you. This is the real world. This is the money list. We used to talk about it 20 some years ago. We don't really talk about it now. I'm like, we need to bring back the money list. So that's why we're talking about it, because this is what needs to happen. You will not hit momentum if you do not have a full pipeline with your money list. This is the way you build it. This has got to get so full of people's names. You cannot keep track of them. You don't even know all their names, and they're coming in faster than you can talk to them. And you've got more people reaching out to you than you can keep up with. That's when you hit momentum. That's when the growth is going to go from pokey pokey to this. Right here, this right here happens when the money list is full. When your pipeline is full, that's when you see people go rank, 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 rank advancements within a very short period of time. Some people, I've seen it happen where people come into the industry already with a huge money list. They're like the spouse of the head of a mega church in Texas or something, Alabama or whatever. And they're head of a church of 30,000 people. And they're the pastor's wife or the pastor. And they have massive influence already. And then they come in and they share the word of the company, and all of a sudden, poof, they within a year they're already at the top rank. I've seen that happen. I've seen influencers come in that already have a full money list because they have a following of 200,000 people or more. Influencer status is 100,000 more or more people typically on a profile. So an active list. So you come in and you already have a full money list. Then you're going to grow really fast. And they seem to be overnight successes, but it took them 5 to 7 years to build that profile, that money list. So you just, this is realistic expectations that I want you to understand so that you know where you're at. You're like, well, I'm at the beginning. I got to do this. Okay, I need to make sure I'm adding every day. And I most importantly, when you are in this momentum and you get to this point where you are growing like this, you cannot ever forget to keep adding to the money list. That was the biggest mistake that I ever made, is that once I became a leader, they give you that, you're a leader now, you're a leader, you got to lead. Once I became a leader, I started out, I grew really, really fast, and then I did this for 8 years. And then I did this. This period of time, I stopped adding to my money list. I stopped adding and recruiting new people. I was helping my team. I was trying to motivate them. I was doing all of their presentations. I was counseling them all day long for hours. I was doing trainings on how to do the business. I was making manuals. I was doing all this crap that did not directly increase my volume. And the only thing that does is adding to your money list new prospects every single day. When I went and I was stuck and I was either going to quit or whatever, I hired right about here. I partnered with a personal private coach. It was my first big investment into coaching right here in 2000. I think it was 2012. And right here, he's like, Jen, you need to get back to adding new people, prospects to your list. You have not been doing that. You've been in management mode for the last 8 years. We started getting out there, finding new people at a rate that I had never done, leaned in, and all of a sudden my volume was doubling by tens of thousands of dollars every month. And it took 6 months to do that, and all of a sudden, poof, right up. Because I guess what? We filled the money list again. So I wanted to share this with you because maybe nobody's ever done this before with you, to put in these realistic expectations on what does it really take to do this? How do you get in momentum like those other people you're seeing that are getting into momentum? And this is truly it. This is it. Whether you've ever seen it or not, I don't know. But I always feel like I need to share this because people think they're gonna show up to one vendor event or they're going to do one networking group or one ad for $5 a day. And all of a sudden, they're going to be in momentum and be able to retire and sip out of coconuts on the beach in Key West. Is not reality. Like, this is just straight truth. Like, it took when I went to Fargo and I already had, like I said, 60 to $80,000 a month in volume. It took us 2 years. Monty and I were schlepping my stuff around in the car for 2 years doing presentations in people's houses, in spas, in massage therapy studios. We sowed the seeds and sowed the seeds and sowed the seeds for 2 years. And all of a sudden, poof, the volume went like that in a matter of months. But we were filling the money list, we were filling the pipeline. And how fast you fill that depends on your effort and how much money you're putting into it. Like whether you're doing ads or you're doing vendor events. I took out a $30,000 loan in 2001 to do that. I was 28 years old. It's either 2001 or 2022. I don't know, 2002. It was somewhere in there, like a blur. It's like 20 gazillion years ago. But I looked at it like I need to get out there. I need people to see me. I need exposure to a lot of people. So, how do I do that? Well, I knew how to do vendor events because I'd done antique shows with my grandmother, my mother for years, even as a teenager. I was doing antique shows. I knew how to do that. I'm like, well, that's what I know how to do. So I went and I took out this $30,000 loan so that I could go do that. And it paid off in dividends, right? Like I always ask people, would you put in $30,000 in order to make a residual six-figure income for years and years and years? That seems like a good investment. But back then, when you're 28 years old and you're like, well, is there a guarantee? Can I be guaranteed to make this money? What's my ROI guarantee? Sorry, it's a business. There is no guarantee. It was all on my shoulders. And people don't like that. People that ask for guarantees, even when they ask you for guarantees, how much money am I going to make in this? That's fear speaking right there. They're afraid to bet on themselves. There's fear in that they don't believe that they can do it. And that's where that comes from. But nobody gave me a guarantee, but I was like, I have two choices. I can either work for corporate till I'm 65 and put a little bit away into my 401k for the rest of my life, or I do something really scary and I decide to take out this loan. I got enough momentum where I was earning, I don't know, 2 to 3 thousand a month. I left my corporate job, and that's when I started full time was April 1st of 2002. So it's all on us, right? If I failed and fell on my face, there was nobody to blame but the person in the mirror. But I believe in myself, and I knew that this was the opportunity for me to do this. And I believe this right now, what I just showed you, is the reason why people don't succeed in the industry because they don't have a realistic expectation. They don't have a 3 to 5 year plan. Okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this is going to, I'm going to give this, 3 to 5 years. I'm going to keep adding to my money list, adding to my money list, adding to the money list forever. And that's when people hit massive momentum. There's a story that I tell, you only need two people. You only need to find the right two people to hit $1 million income in this industry. And this is also never told about. Nobody talks about this. You need the two right people will bring you 98% of your volume. Or yeah, 90% of your volume, sorry. 90% of your volume that will push you to $1 million earner. You need to sponsor Leading with the Business about 100 people. This is straight facts. Monty and I have seen this with our own faces. People talk about this. where there was what 15 leaders on the stage from all different companies, and every one of them said about 100 people they led and enrolled with the business opportunity. Two to three of them brought them to $1 million status. So you need to go enroll 100 people, and you're going to find the right two people. You're that two people away from a seven-figure income. And how do you do that? You add to your money list every day, even when you're moving, or there's a hurricane, or there's kids going back to school, or you got COVID, or your dog is puking on the floor, like your car broke down. Every day, no matter what, you need to add to the money list because those excuses are well-planned lies that you're telling yourself to justify your inaction because you're afraid to succeed. Well, if I come up with all this BS in my head and they seem to be legit reasons why I can't succeed, I can justify, well, this didn't work for me. This industry doesn't work. I see it. I've seen that. I've seen people sabotage their success to like unbelievably so because they would rather make it look like they did something and it failed than them believing in themselves, putting it out there with the risk that maybe they would fail. They made it look like the business failed for them. I mean, there's all kinds of junk on the internet about how MLM is a scam and all this. I'm like, how is it a scam? Like, you tell people about a product, they buy it, you get a commission. You tell more people, you get a bigger commission. You tell a lot more people, you get a bigger commission. It's just like, real estate. How is it different than that? Realtor gets commission for selling a piece of property. A broker owns the brokerage who's got the agents, and she earns the commission on those agents. It's like, but the problem is there's a 99% failure rate in this industry because of exactly what I've been going through in the last half hour, or whatever it's been. And this is so important. It's so important to get this. And I was very fortunate to learn this way at the beginning of when I started in 2001, and then I forgot it for 8 years. And then I was reminded by a coach, and I said, dang it, you're right. Because within that period of 6 months, we were able to break through and get to a rank that took me 8 years to get to. And then it just doubled and grew and grew and grew. So, anyways,